This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or exclusive Patreon only gameplays, then feel free to check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. Yet another new one from the new Theros set, Beyond Death. Heliod the Sun-Crowned versus Rasputin Dreamweaver, Atla Palani Nest Tender, and Kadena Slinking Sorcerer. We've got some card draw, sort of card draw with Karn. Yeah, let's just keep that. Yeah, I'm going to keep that, and we can hopefully thin out our library of all of our basics across the course of the game. Not as likely when we've got a fistful of lands and we're playing first, but we've got a couple of green players at the table. And of course, we just draw into our plains on turn 1, so let's go for the land tax. And we've got Mistveiled Plains in the deck, so we can go for that with the Flooded Strand. Not much going on turn 1, apart from a Soul Ring from Rasputin. We get into Aetherflux Reservoir, so let's just drop a plains and we'll go for the Arcane Signet. Probably going for Karn next turn. Alright, and everyone passing through without doing anything. Atla Palani has held up some mana though. Twilight Drover is good if we can trigger life gain on creatures entering and have our commander in play. But we'll just go for the Karn at this point because I want to start looking at more cards. Reveal the top 2. And I will have Atlas choose one of them. Don't actually know what they are yet. There is a Serra Ascendant and a land, so no doubt they'll give us the land here. Might actually go for Serra Ascendant with Karn next turn. And they do, they leave the Serra in exile. That is in exile with a silver counter on it, so we can take that next turn if Karn doesn't leave play. There is a Sakura Tribe Elder from the Kadena player. And speaking of which, we've got Atlas Dragoon. I am playing against 3 patrons today. Atlas Dragoon piloting Kadena. Wood CJE with Atla Palani. And then Chit is piloting Rasputin Dreamweaver. I have played against a 1v1 Rasputin deck against another patron. I think it was another patron. I don't think it was Chit. I can't remember now. I have edited that, but I don't think at this point I would have released it to all of you. You'll be seeing that soon enough. Now an Elemental Bond from Atla Palani. We don't know if this is Dinosaur Tribal or not, but they probably at the very least want to cheat in big creatures with the egg tokens, which will probably trigger the Elemental Bond. And there's a Soul Herder, that's a really good one, and that could get big over the course of the game. Only triggers on their end step, I think. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile another card and bring it back in, which is probably just there for their Rasputin, but it might be a generic flicker list. Another land for us. Let's go immediately in for that Serra Ascendant. That makes a good blocker to protect our Karn. We'll try our Heliod first, and that comes down really quickly. Let's go Serra Ascendant. And then we'll get the Mistveiled Plains out, which is a tap land with the Flooded Strand. I think we have Mistveil. Yes, we do. It's up there. So get the tap land out of the way and pass over to our opponent. I think we're doing okay considering the poor hand we kept. Atlas sacrificing the Sakura Tribe Elder and going in for another basic at the end of the turn. Now they have 5 mana available to them. And there she is. And the first morph creature comes in, that triggers Kadena, and they get a card draw. What you typically want to do with Kadena is be able to play at flash speed, because then you can play out your morph creatures once on each of your opponent's turns, and that will trigger card draw each time, and it will be free. So if we see Ley Line of Anticipation or Vidalcan Orrery, or some kind of flash land, then we need to be wary of that. A Dauntless Escort coming in for Atla Palani, probably just to protect their commander. There's a couple of white players at the table, so they'll have to be wary of exile. Oh, and that triggers the Elemental Bond as well, so they keep themselves at 6 cards in hand. And there's the third commander of the game. Only Atla Palani left to come out now. Rasputin Dreamweaver can get them into another rock if they want to use the mana. Soul Herder is most likely going to flicker this, so they might as well do that. I just hope that no one points a swords at this at some point and shit forgets to change the zones, because it will be exiled permanently. It's one of the weird changes they made to Magic Online. You have to manually change the zones that your commander goes into, instead of the client actually asking you. But it doesn't look like they're going to make use of the mana with that. So there's no Gilded Lotus or Thran Dynamo in their hand, I imagine. Is this a May ability? Yes, that's a May ability, so they don't have to flicker it anyway. Okay, land tax does trigger. We had land tax on the play, like I said, but thanks to the Sakura Tribe Elder, Kadena has more lands than us now. So I'm just going to say yes to that. I think I will grab all 3 basics. We might have to discard one at the end of the turn, but we do have Sun Titan in the deck. Although that probably goes after the Flooded Strand. And okay, an Alms Collector. I think we're okay to wait a turn on that. Let's throw down the Snow-Covered Plains, and we'll go for Twilight Drover. I'm going to swing in with the Serra Ascendant, hopefully gain life with that. Put a counter on the Twilight Drover. And this needs... yeah, remove a +1/+1 counter to make some spirits. Twilight Drover I have very high hopes for in this deck. So we'll see what happens during combat, and then that might dictate what I do with Karn. I want to be able to make spirit blockers for our commander. But if we don't get damage through with this, then we're not going to be able to do that. So I might have to make a blocker with Karn. Let's go after Kadena. I am going to spread the damage around, but I'm just going to point myself at Kadena just because there's some white mana held up here, and they might be more willing to swords our Serra Ascendant if it comes in at them. Maybe they've got Condemn or something like that. Heliod triggers for the first time. So let's put a counter on the Twilight Drover, and then we can just go for Karn. It gets +1/+1 for each artifact. We only control 1 artifact, so that'll be a 1/1. Let's just reveal cards again. And it is Auriok Champion and the Angel of Invention. Let's allow Chit to separate those piles. I think it's the Auriok Champion that I want here. Yeah, they give us the Angel of Invention. That is the more expensive of the cards. Auriok Champion will get us a lot of life gain, and with each point of life gain from each creature entering, we'll get a plus counter, so I think our opponent's wise there. It's actually a tiny little bit of a combo with Twilight Drover. That generates tokens, and it triggers Auriok Champion to put the counters back on that. But anyway, we are just going to try and keep our Karn in play with Twilight Drover's spirit tokens. It depends if everyone goes all out on attacking us. And then at the end of the turn we just discard a Plains. And then Atlas immediately going in for another morph creature. That will take them up to 6 cards in hand. And then going for Seedborn Muse, which, along with a Flash Enabler, will go nicely. That will, if they get down one of the Flash Enablers that we mentioned before, that makes a Prophet of Kruphix. A 2-card Prophet of Kruphix. So, yeah, we might already be looking at a board wipe. Now, does the morph creature swing into Karn? I mean, they've only got 1 mana to flip it over, so I don't know if we particularly worry about that, even if they do. Well, Kadena's going in. So if Kadena hits, we block the Dauntless Escort with a token, we block Rasputin with a token. This hits Karn for 2, and then we can kill off Karn and get our Auriok champion. And I think with all these creatures on board, Karn's going down anyway, so yeah, I think we let this one through. So Karn going down to 3 loyalty, and then we pass over to Wood and Atla Palani. And there's Nature's Law for some more ramp. They're just building themselves up to their commander, I imagine. Typically speaking, you want haste with Atla Palani. You want to play her and make an egg immediately, maybe even 2 if you've got token doublers. It's what they crack the eggs for that I'm worried about. Okay, going for a Sword of Feast and Famine, so deciding not to surprise us with that. We've got a turn to deal with it now. For once, Sword of Feast and Famine isn't something that I have to worry about running mono white. It's usually the bane of my existence, that card. Okay, and the Dauntless Escort goes in at Karn, as you would expect, so let's go for some tokens. We'll make some spirits with flying, and then we'll just chump with a token. So unless Rasputin has Proliferate, we should be able to keep our Karn in play. And they might as well swing in with Rasputin anyway, because it will be untapped by the Soul Herder. We'll leave their Soul Herder tapped though. But I think everyone's eyes are locked on us currently. I don't have in the deck, and I'm sure there's a hell of a lot of tweaking to be done with this deck anyway. Don't really know what I'm doing with Mono White Life Game, but I don't have Felidar Sovereign and the enchantment version of that wins us the game if we've got 50 life, I think. Yeah, I didn't put those in there because I do have the Walking Ballista combo, which is boring and obnoxious as it is. But I knew that people were so excited about Walking Ballista and Heliod that I couldn't not include it. Might be able to show it this game. But I'd rather it was a late game combo. I'd rather not get it out on turn 4. Which, well, that time has been and gone anyway. Okay, we're actually going to leave our Karn in play then by the looks of it. Yeah, Karn is going to be down to 2 loyalty because they didn't swing in with Soul Herder. And then they remove a Dream counter to prevent the next 1 point of damage that the Spirit would deal. So Rasputin survives. We get another counter onto the Twilight Drover because a token left the battlefield. I've always really liked the idea of Twilight Drover, but it always gets cut from my decks because I never want to spend time putting mana into it, to be honest. But, oh, Oblivion Ring. Okay, well, that might deal with Karn then. But yeah, in a deck like this, where we're wanting to trigger life gain multiple times per creature that enters, Twilight Drover is a must in Heliod, I think. Oh, alright, actually, the O-Ring goes on to Seedball Muse. So this Planeswalker is staying out much longer than I thought it would. And now they're going for a bunch of mana with the Rasputin. That's down to, oh, Consecrated Sphinx, yeah. Doing some good stuff over there. They're down to 3 cards in hand, but they won't be for long. I think it might be time for an Arms Collector. So let's put a stop on... Well, it doesn't actually matter. We can respond to the Consecrated Sphinx trigger. That'll be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we'll have mana held up for Twilight Drover. Yeah, I think we're okay with that. Okay, now a Reality Shift going on to... Yeah, I thought we were going to get some card draw there. Although... Alright, a Cloud Shift onto the Consecrated Sphinx in response to the Reality Shift from Kadena. So that will flicker the Sphinx and it will come back straight away, I think. Then return it to the battlefield under your control, so that protects that. Yeah, Arms Collector was a last-minute addition, and I'm glad I put it in here now. Not another counterspell, surely. Does Kadena have something else to do? Nope. The Cloud Shift is allowed to resolve. The Soul Herder goes up to a 4/4. That will be a 5/5 at the end of the turn, thanks to flickering the commander. So there we go. Rasputin going up to 7 Dream counters again. Land tax will trigger for us. I'm not going to bother going for that. Yeah, I don't mind thinning out my library all that much. If we're just going to draw a bunch of planes off of Arms Collector, it's not that bad. Yeah, let's actually forego the land tax this time. Okay, we get into Dawn of Hope for more card draw. Let's just go for Alms Collector here. And that will draw us a card each. And then by the time we get through to our main... Oh, that animates Heliod as well. I actually would rather that wasn't animated, to be honest, but not to worry. I'm sure someone will deal with our Sarah Ascendant sooner rather than later. And they chose not to draw with the Consecrated Sphinx because they didn't want to get us into any more cards. Fair enough. So in that case, let's put this Auriok Champion into our hand. And that'll set us up nicely with the Twilight Drover. I'm actually just going to hold on to the Spirits. We'll play a land and pass the turn. I'm not going to go for Auriok Champion just yet. We'll try and set that up next turn. So there we go. We put the Auriok Champion into our hand. Let's drop a Plains. That leaves us with 7 cards in hand. And now, I think I'm going to... Yeah, let's attack in at the Naya player. Actually, let's go in at Chit. Although, do I want them to throw away the Consecrated Sphinx? No. I think they might block with Consecrated Sphinx if they're not going for the card draw with that, which I think they should. They're only at 2 cards in hand. Them drawing a card and us drawing is better than them not drawing anything at all. I think that's how that works, isn't it? If an opponent would draw 2 or more cards, instead you and that player each draw a card, yes. Never played with Alms Collector before. So there we go, 6 damage onto the Naya player. Gains us life. We'll put a plus counter onto Alms Collector, just so that it's less likely to die. And there we are, yeah, just hold up 3 mana for the Twilight Drover, and that sees us through to the next turn quite nicely. Let's see if Atlas can flip over any morph creatures. Nope, they're not going for that. Does Consecrated Sphinx draw myself and Chit a card here? Again, decided not to go for it. They're quite worried about that Alms Collector. Another morph creature for Kadena, which will trigger more card draw for Consecrated Sphinx. They could be at 5 cards in hand here. Yeah, I don't think they should be saying no to the Consecrated Sphinx. I know it's a tough choice because it's feeding us cards, but it all depends on what 2 cards they've got in hand, I suppose. At the very least, we've switched off a Consecrated Sphinx, which is no mean feat. Oh, a Beastmaster Ascension. That is something to keep an eye on. Does it give trample, or is it just a buff? +5/+5, no trample with that. Alright, now, deciding to just swing in at Wood and the Atla Palani, which will put 3 counters on the Beastmaster Ascension. That'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I think it's 7 it needs. Yeah, 7 or more quest counters. So if they turn everything sideways next turn, all of their stuff is getting +5/+5. We might be able to get rid of Beastmaster Ascension at instant speed and screw up someone's combat. But as of right now, it is 5, 6, 7 damage, including 3 commander onto Atla Palani. And our Khan is continuing to stick around. Okay, this time saying yes to the Consecrated Sphinx. They go up to a 3rd card in hand. We draw Monastery Mentor. So considering we kept such a lackluster hand, we're actually doing quite well here. Oh, and then the Consecrated Sphinx triggered again off of us drawing. So they went for another draw, going up to 4, and get us into a Solemn Simulacrum. I have no idea what we're doing next turn. Might be worth an Aetherflux Reservoir. It is difficult holding up mana with the Twilight Drover, but it is keeping people away from us, I think. Atla Palani comes down with no haste, but it does have a little bit of protection from Dauntless Escort, and if they put the sword on that, then that switches off some good spot removal. But like I said before, 2 white players at the table. We're not necessarily all that worried about a Sword of Feast and Famine. They go for the equip, leaving that command tower open again. Then, just deciding to pass the turn over, we will now get on with Rasputin's turn and see what they can go for. They go up to 5 cards in hand. Could have had a full grip if they'd gone for Consecrated Sphinx, but decided to hold off on that a little bit. Which is fair enough, I suppose. We do have 9 cards in hand now. I don't think I've got any infinite hand size stuff like a Thought Vessel or a Reliquary Tower in this deck. I wasn't expecting to be able to actually draw cards in a white deck. Oh, an Eldrazi Displacer, and they do have colourless mana thanks to Sol Ring and the Mystic Gate. So they will be able to flicker stuff with that. That will... Oh, and of course that's part of an infinite combo as well. I saw that in the 1v1 that I played. Yeah, you can dump 3 mana from this into the Eldrazi Displacer, and it brings it in tapped again straight away. Yeah, we could really do with getting rid of the Rasputin Dreamweaver and even the Eldrazi Displacer. This can't flicker itself, can it? Another creature. Okay. Yeah, if anyone's got removal, I recommend pointing it at this. Yeah, our opponent's saying that the entire board's worrying, and I actually agree with that. I have means of wiping the entire board in this deck, but I obviously don't have those cards in hand. Rasputin now swinging in towards Kadena. So I think we might have to go for Aetherflux Reservoir. Yeah, we may have to go for Aetherflux Reservoir and use that as a nuke button against Chit. If they're going to assemble an infinite combo, yeah, we might have to do that. It'll take us down to hardly any life, but maybe Auriok Champion as well. We haven't gotten all that much ramp is the problem. And we won't be able to hold up the mana for the Twilight Drover. But needs must, we might have to give that a break for a turn. Anyway, deciding not to block with the Morph creature. And getting 4 points of commander damage onto Atlas. Now, does this trigger when it enters, or does it just enter with them? It enters the battlefield with the dream counters on it, so you don't even have time to kill it off. In response to a trigger, putting the dream counters onto it, it just enters with them. Yeah, so they're going to flicker their commander again. That will untap it and put the 7 counters onto it again, which puts another plus counter on the Soul Herder. That is now a 6/6. At the end of the turn, if we're not going to be able to make spirits, at least we'll have some blockers at the end of this turn. Land tax triggers again. Let's just grab 1 plains with that. Just in case we don't draw any more. I usually empty my library of basics when I'm playing 1v1, but in multiplayer you don't know how long the game's going to go on for, so I certainly don't want to lose all the basics. We draw into Suture Priest, which is a good replacement for the Auriok Champion. Do we care about the protection from black and red? This only triggers life gain on our creatures. Yeah, I think I'll just go for the Auriok Champion, so let's drop a plains. We'll plus on Karn. And this time I will allow Wood to select the card that we take. Now let's see what we reveal here. Oh, there's a Soul's Attendant, and I think it was a land revealed as well, so of course we get the land, as you would expect. So yeah, Soul's Attendant is in exile with a silver counter on it, exactly where we don't want it. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Aetherflux Reservoir. Then if we go 2 mana into the Auriok Champion, and that should gain us a nice chunk of life over the course of the next few turns. So we now have a panic button where we can take someone out of the game, 50 life, deal 50 damage to someone. But it will come at the cost of us hardly having any life. So just for the sake of having at least 7 life as opposed to 1, let's swing in with the Serra Ascendant. Not going to swing in over here because our opponent can block with the Consecrated Sphinx and then flicker it with the Displacer. So I think I'm just going to go in at Kadena and hope that it doesn't get bounced, because I do want the life here. Yeah, there hasn't been much removal this game, apart from an attempted reality shift, so I wasn't expecting to keep all this stuff in play for this long. Serra Ascendant has done a lot of damage and gained us a lot of life this game. But it looks like the Flicker player might be running interference here. Going for Eldrazi Displacer onto... Oh, they can flicker other creatures. I forgot about that. Alright, so that removes that from combat. And puts yet another plus counter on the Soul Herder. So then we just going for Auriok Champion. And we'll gain a life with that. And that will put a plus counter onto Twilight Drover, I think. Although, do we care about having a plus counter on Twilight Drover? What else have we got? I think I'll try and spread... Yeah, I'll try and spread things around a little bit. I'm just thinking about this flickering our tokens now. Oh well, let's go for... We'll just put it on the Twilight Drover. If they can flicker our spirits anyway, then so be it. I'm worried about this attack step now. If they swing in with everything, then the Displacer could get some blockers out of the way. So there we are, we have 2 mana held up. I do not want to run out the Suture Priest, just in case there's a board wipe. We are all desperate for a board wipe at this point. Yeah, we'll get rid of a couple of planes here. I think land tax is going to trigger on our turn, so we can refill our hand with planes if we want to. Now we need to see if the Flicker player is going to carry on with Consecrated Sphinx, or if they're going to keep foregoing that. They've been a bit hit and miss with that so far, so quite unpredictable with it. Deciding not to draw. It's funny, if they're going for a Laboratory Maniac win with Rasputin and the Eldrazi Displacer, they can generate infinite colourless mana with that and play cards that allow them to put colourless mana into card draw, use the infinite mana to draw their entire deck and win with Labman. They could actually do it with Consecrated Sphinx and the Arms Collector because we don't have a choice in that. So we can't say no to the card draw. We constantly bounce card draw between each other. They keep saying yes to the Sphinx and draw their entire library with a Labman in play. I don't know if that is their game plan or not, but I have seen that in Rasputin. We gain our first point of life from the Auriok Champion. Let's put a counter onto the Auriok Champion. Protection from black and some plus counters sounds pretty good. That was a morph creature entering with Kadena, so card draw there. Which triggers the Sphinx again. But again, deciding to say no to that. Imagine how many cards they'd have in hand if it wasn't for this Arms Collector. Right, let's see if Kadena swings in with everything and gives a bunch of stuff +5/+5. We've got an Indestructible to block with, and pro-black. That can block Kadena. I don't even know where they want to swing in. I think we are a threat thanks to the Karn. Well, the Karn's not really that bad, but it is a Planeswalker and it kind of gives us card advantage. In fact, it does give us card advantage. But then there's the possibility of infinites going off over here, so yeah, I'm not really sure where our opponent would even want to swing in. Okay, just deciding to go in with one creature, and that is Beastmaster Ascension jumping up to 4. So we don't have to worry about that just yet, but do you let the morph creature through or not? I think I'll just chump with a spirit. Yeah, they're coming in at us and not Karn. Yeah, I'm not very well versed in the morph creatures, to be honest. I did make Kadena, but I haven't played it very much. Let's just chump with a spirit, I think. I don't know if there's a creature that kind of has like a wither type thing. We'll just block like that. Looks like they're flipping it, which I did expect either way. Okay, it's an Anok Survivalist. When it's turned face up, destroy a target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. What do they aim that at? Aetherflux Reservoir. Going after their Oblivion Ring to get the Seaborn Muse back. So we could have blocked with Heliod there and killed this off, but least we know what it is now. Although Morph does have means of flipping things back down, which is actually pretty bad with Heliod in play. That will get rid of people's commanders. Ixodron is the card I'm thinking of. But then again, it flips their commander down as well, although Black's more likely to have sack outlets. Anyway, they blow up the Oblivion Ring, and the Seaborn Muse comes down, triggering the Auriok Champion. That actually allows us to put a plus counter on the Spirit and kill this thing off, so it's almost as if I planned it. We might as well trade each other here. I don't think this has first strike. No, it's a green creature, so that's not likely. Then the token goes down in combat. Twilight Drover gets another counter on it. We can't take advantage of that yet because we don't have the 3 mana held up that we need for Twilight Drover. And then a hard cast morph creature from Kadena. They've already cast their free one. This game, it is this one with Summoning Sickness. Or this turn, I should say. Triggering Auriok Champion yet again. So this Aetherflux Reservoir is looking better and better. We'll put another counter on the Auriok Champion. Then Kadena draws a card, triggering the Consecrated Sphinx again, but deciding to keep up the trend and not draw. When does the Arms Collector come in if they flicker it? Return it to the battlefield under... it does it straight away. If it flickered, or blinked, whatever it's called, until the end of our turn, they could get rid of Arms Collector for a turn and draw cards with the Sphinx. Okay, going for the card draw this time. They go up to 4 and we get a Plains. So perhaps not going in for land tax. Oh, and we get a Nykthos as well, drawing us another card with the Sphinx. And a Mana Crypt. Alright, we're getting some stuff going here. Problem is, I bet our opponent is too. Sunscorch Regent for more life gain triggers. We might have to get rid of the Rasputin player. Oh, we get a Sol Ring as well. Yeah, we're getting into all the ramp now. Speaking of ramp, extra planar lens. This next turn could be incredible for us. And speaking of board wipes, I was just thinking we need to hope that there's no board wipes. A Recruiter of the Guard as well. So it looks like that infinite card draw is on the go. I just have to keep an eye out for some spot removal at this point. We have both the Swords to Plowshares and the Path to Exile. And I'm assuming our opponent is going in for their Labman win. Can they flash down Lab Maniac is the question. We're not getting into our removal apart from the Wrath of God though. Yeah, even if we get into both Swords and Path here, I don't know if we're going to be able to do anything, assuming that... Yeah, I think we might have to just bolt our opponent. Alright, well our opponent tells us that they're just digging for an answer to Reservoir. I think... I don't know what you think, but I might have enough cards in hand here. So, let's just risk killing off Chit with the Aetherflux Reservoir. They might be able to counter a triggered ability, which I really hope they can't, because otherwise we just paid 50 life for nothing. But I really can't have Chit going crazy like this. If there's one type of player you want to keep card draw from, it's a infinite mana, blue and white player. Yeah, our opponent could have a counter to abilities. Blue has plenty of those. I'm just hoping that they can't blow up Aetherflux Reservoir. If we can keep that in play, we can ramp like crazy and play a bunch of stuff next turn. And we should be able to... Okay, they're doing something in response. Mystical Tutor, can they draw a card in response? They can Mystical Tutor something onto the top. Can they draw it? Has the draw step been already? Well, they'd have to pass priority anyway if they want to draw it, so they still need a card draw spell. Yeah, it's a really tricky spot here. We have not seen any Wraths, hardly any removal this game. And our opponent's got near enough infinite colourless mana. In fact, they do have infinite colourless mana. Alright, going in for Sphinx's Revelation. That could be much worse. Although they can draw their deck pretty much with that, can't they? This comes in straight away, brings the Rasputin in straight away, and they can dump a bunch of colourless mana into X. Yeah, we might just have to sit here and watch our opponent play. In fact, this gains life as well, doesn't it? So not only will they draw into an answer, but they'll gain X life. Alright, well, Chit's saying he's dead. Oh, of course, yeah, the Sphinx's Revelation is on top, isn't it? Not in their hand. Yeah, so we're actually not going to watch Chit play for 5 or 10 minutes here. Yeah, I was just saying there that these combos are really good in paper, and I think Chit does play this one in paper, but on Magic Online it's just too much of a pain to play, I think. All depends on the patience of your opponents, of course. We knock them down by 50. Thanks to Aetherflux Reservoir, we go down to 6. Just have to keep my fingers crossed that we don't die to Atla Palani now. We actually didn't get into any removal with all that card draw. Rings of Brighthearth, okay. And then going through to combat, Atla Palani doesn't have too many good attacks here, I don't think. Yeah, just going to hold off and make an egg, maybe. If they're going to do that, they'll make it at the end of Kadena's turn, so it looks like we make it through to our next turn. Do we want to go for something with the Idyllic Tutor? I mean, we could just go for Walking Ballista, couldn't we? We're at a very low life total, so it might be worth doing that. Yeah, let's try it. We'll gain a life from casting a card. I think we've only done one spell this turn. But Wood is over there paying some costs. And okay, Swords to Plowshares onto the Seaborn Muse. They might wish they'd kept hold of that. Yeah, it's always worth seeing what your opponent tutors for before you go for things like that in response. Does Kadena have counters? It's good to get counters out of people's hands. I did tell my opponents that I've got an infinite. I didn't tell them which deck I was running, but I did tell them that I've got an infinite in this deck. And if they remember that, then they can likely figure out which combo it is that's in this deck. Anyway, flipping over a Mistfire Weaver. And when it's turned face up, target creature you control gains hexproof. So no Swords to Plowshares onto the Seedborn Muse. Heliod triggers again. Let's just put a counter onto the Serra Ascendant. I wonder if there's any mono white proliferate that would be good. I can't think of any. There's the Khan's Bastion, that's a land, but yeah, I don't think there's all that much proliferate for white. Oh, and of course, this doesn't have flying in its buff anymore, thanks to us going down that much life. We'll have to see if we can gain a bunch of life with Aetherflux Reservoir now. So we'll go for the Walking Ballista. Land tax triggers. We are certainly not going to shuffle up with a land tax. You've got to be very careful about stuff like that on Magic Online. So we'll say no to that. I've forgotten those types of things many a time. We would shuffle away our Walking Ballista. Yeah, just telling my opponents that I'm sure Atlas has an answer for this. We'll just drop a Plains. We are 1 Plains away from turning on Emeria, not that we have it. So let's go for... We'll go for Ramp first off. And we'll continue to put counters on the Serra Ascendant, because it does still have lifelink, it's just the buff and the flying that it loses. Then we go for the Sol Ring, and we should be able to gain a bunch of life back here. Heliod continuing to put counters onto the Serra Ascendant. I wonder if we can win this turn, actually. If we can gain enough life, we could blast Kadena out of the game. Then we'll play the... We'll tap a land for mana, first of all. Then we'll play the Lens. We want to tap the land for mana before we exile it. Another counter on the Ascendant. Exile the tap land so that all of our planes will tap for 2 mana. That is 10 on our planes alone. Certainly say yes there. Could have gone for the Shrine to Nyx, actually. I forgot we had that in hand. Then we will go for this. That's quite cheap. And it makes everything cheaper in our hand as well. Plus it's more life gain, of course. Up to 17. Still concentrating on the Serra Ascendant. Yeah, just a case of playing out a bunch of cheap stuff, I think. Ajani's welcome home. And we're up to 22 life now, a much more comfortable life total. Play the Clamp as well. That will only be 1 mana, so do we want to go for Monastery Mentor? Might be worth playing around Cyclonic Rift actually, but yeah, anyway, let's just carry on playing stuff. We want to definitely keep our life up there. The Serra Ascendant is now a 14/14 with lifelink and flying again because we're up to above 35 life. Or we're at 35 life, above 30. Okay, now what else? We'll go in for the Suture Priest as well. I'm just trying to get my life total to above 30 at this point, so that I can get rid of Kadena. Say no to the Dawn of Hope. I think we've drawn enough cards this game, thanks to that Arms Collector. And then we're gaining more life with Ajani's Welcome and Auriok Champion every time a creature enters. And we'll gain life with the Suture Priest now as well. I'll put a plus counter on the Suture Priest just for the sake of doing something different. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a case of watching Chip play for a little bit thanks to the Infinite Combo, but it turns out it's me that everyone is going to have to watch play, so I do apologise for that. We can go in for the Monastery Mentor as well. Probably should have done that sooner, but I wasn't really aware of how many cards I'd have to play, to be honest. We should jump up by a huge amount of life here. Yeah, we go up to 54. And then, with the way that Atla Palani, Wood was talking, I don't think he has an answer for our Infinite Combo with Walking Ballista, so I think I get rid of Kadena first. And we haven't even been into combat yet, so we might be able to gain life with this as well. Yeah, so with the life gain triggers, we end up at 50. Let's see if we can knock out Kadena by taking 50 life. Certainly not going to cast Walking Ballista into morph creatures and open blue mana. They might be able to counter an ability. Oh, and can they? Counter an ability. So that's very nice from Atlas. Can they counter the Walking Ballista is the question. It might be worth holding on to Walking Ballista then, I think. How much can we cast and how much life can we gain? We've got 2, we've got 6 mana held up. Let's make a construct token with this. That'll gain us some more life, because a creature will enter. And Serra Ascendant has lost the flying again, but it's still a 15/15, now a 16/16 with lifelink. So I think we can still swing in with that. Alright, I think I'll go Lightning Greaves after all that. We'll go Lightning Greaves. See how much life we gain. We're at 10, so that should be easy to work out. Oh, but actually we'll gain life from these entering first, so let's just see what happens here. Monastery Mentor will give us a token, which will gain us a bunch of life. Alright, so we go up to 13 from the token entering. And it does matter how much life we gain from Aetherflux Reservoir, because we want to try and get above 50 again. That jumps us up to 23. So I think that's, what's that, 10 life. So we'll just put another counter on Serra Ascendant. That will put us to 43 if we swing in with this. One more spell might be able to do it. Just so we've got as much information as we can possibly have, let's go for Lightning Greaves onto the Serra Ascendant and see if any morph creatures get flipped and blow this up somehow. Priority's been passed quite quickly. So we could go, as long as we hold up 2 mana, we should be able to go Walking Ballista. It enters with, oh no, but we need 2 mana to give the Walking Ballista lifelink, don't we? If we swing in with Serra Ascendant, we go up to 45. Let's just swing in and see what happens. We might not be able to win this turn. Kadena is paused before we go to combat, so that might tell us something. Might tell you something if you know more about morph creatures than I do. Are there any death-touching morph creatures, I wonder? And there still might be a Cyclonic Rift. It's 4, 5, 6. No, probably not then. Let's go in at Atlas. And if we lose the Serra Ascendant, then so be it. Yeah, let's go in like that. I think my game plan currently is to get up to above 50 life again and knock out the Sultai player. But it all depends on what they do here. They've got 3 cards in hand, 6 mana, and 2 morphs. Going through to blocks. And just deciding to throw that away. So we will gain the 22 life unless it can be flickered. Luckily we got rid of the flicker player. Alright, we do gain the life, we go up to 45. I think it's just a case of tapping out this turn and we can go for the Walking Ballista combo next turn. What do we want to put a plus on? We'll just go for a Spirit, seeing as how it has flying. And then let's go for Recruiter of the Guard, that is 2 mana. That should gain us enough life to try and get rid of Kadena again. This will be the 3rd activation on the Aetherflux Reservoir, so apparently we gain a nice chunk of life in this deck. Put another counter on that Spirit. And we'll actually get to tutor for something here. We've got the Soul Warden, or the Soul's Attendant, in exile. We've still got Karn, so we could grab that if needs be. I think we just go for Soul's Attendant here. Oh, and we gain more life from a creature entering. Yeah, huge props to my opponent. I have been playing with myself for a long time here. And they've been very patient. It's thanks to the patrons that you get full games like this, so you must be sure to thank them for their patience in the comment section. I've actually got a few targets there. Orchid, Mentor. I think... What is Angel? Oh yeah, that's the life thing, isn't it? That would have helped progress everything much faster, actually. Maybe could have gone for that, but we'll just grab the Soul Warden. Okay, let's try again. We're now up to 59 life. We'll try and get rid of Atlas again, or is he going to wriggle out of it one more time? Well, he's going for something, going for more blue mana with the Polluted Delta. That's a point, actually. It might have been worth waiting until he cracks that to go for this, but hey, it's all fun and games. As long as I got to show off what this deck can do, I don't mind if we win or lose, to be honest. Do they have Dismissal, is it called? There's plenty of blue spells that can counter abilities anyway. Void Slime is one. They do have green and blue held up. That counter a target spell. Well, that doesn't work. Heroic Intervention. Yeah, this fizzles, as far as I'm aware. Oh, it's that said you gain hexproof, doesn't it? If our opponent gains hexproof, doesn't that fizzle the Aetherflux Reservoir? Oh, anyway, I thought our opponent had dodged it yet again there. Oh well. Now then, let's see here. We can't go for the combo because we don't have enough mana. Had I have gone for Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, we might have been able to. Let's go for, where is the thing that makes angels this? And we'll just do that to gain ourselves a bunch of life. That will give us an angel at the end of the turn as well. I think we gain like 13 life here or something. We jump up to 21. We'll put a plus counter on, oh, I don't know. Put it on the flyer again. And then hopefully my opponent doesn't scoop it up because I'll try and show you the infamous Walking Ballista combo. Don't know if I'll keep it in the deck because it's pretty obnoxious and boring. You can get a turn 4 win off with that. Probably even earlier in Commander thanks to mana crypts and mana vaults, stuff like that. You never know, our opponent might get into a board wipe. I don't think even a board wipe would help them because it won't kill off Heliod. Yeah. As long as we keep Heliod, I mean, even if we don't, we can recast it next turn and just go for the combo. But yeah, massive shout out to my opponents because I've just been playing all by myself for quite a while now. Then Resplendent Angel triggers at the end of the turn. If you gain 5 or more life this turn, I think we might have just met the criteria for that. Any of you geniuses that are watching this can total up the amount of life we've gained this turn. I mean, it must be at least 150. No, at least 100. We've only activated that twice. So we've gained at least 100 life thanks to Aetherflux Reservoir. No, to the Dawn of Hope. We are now at 27 life. I'm not too sure what Wood can do here. They've been quite unlucky with their Atla Palani deck, I think. They're making an egg at the end of the turn. Oh god, and we've got to discard after this as well, haven't we? They get to copy with the Rings of Bright Hearth as well, so they'll get 2 eggs. No sack outlet for them though. And that will trigger Auriok Champion gaining us life. Suture Priest will lose them some life. That loses them 1 life per creature that enters for them. Now then, let's just discard a bunch of planes, I imagine. We've got now 17, 16 cards in hand. Don't need Solemn. Don't need any lands, I don't think. Doubt we need Cathar's Crusade. Well, we don't need Ranger of Eos. Secure the Wastes. Yeah, I don't think we need any of this stuff. Let's go Angel of Invention because we've got Secure the Wastes. Sunscorch Regent because we've got Soul Warden. Haste on 1 creature I don't think really matters. That's more in here for protection. And we've got the Lightning Greaves anyway, so let's just get rid of that. Yeah, I'm really hoping for my opponent to pull something from the brink here because this would be a comeback and a half. What is that? That is a Spear Breaker. Target creature with power 5 or greater gains indestructible until the end of the turn. Okay. We gain more life, they lose more life. That triggers Elemental Bond for them. They've only got 2 mana held up. Alright, it looks like our opponent doesn't have anything. So let's just try and show you all this Walking Ballista combo. First off, we'll put the Lightning Greaves onto Heliod. Then we'll go Walking Ballista. We'll just put 4 mana into that. And that will come down with a couple of plus counters on it. And we'll gain a bunch of life on that entering. So we'll put the plus counter onto Walking Ballista. And we'll save the targets on that and always yield. So Heliod always puts a counter on the Ballista. Then we can say yield, yes, and yield, yes, and yield. This bit would be way faster if you're playing in paper. Then we go tap 2 mana and we activate Heliod's ability for the first time all game. We give Walking Ballista lifelink. Then we put the Lightning Greaves onto the Walking Ballista. Actually, no, we don't. We can't give it Shroud, can we? Yeah, glad I spotted that one. So now all we do is remove a plus counter from the Ballista. You can also do this with Triskelion, by the way. But I've only got Walking Ballista in here. And I wasn't going to try and win with it really quickly, but I know that a lot of people are excited about this combo, so I do want to show it to all of you. And Walking Ballista's damage is lifelink damage. So that means that it gets a plus counter on it from Heliod every time it deals the damage, because that is life gain. And yeah, anyway, that's the combo. Remove a counter, ping our opponent, Ballista gains us life with the damage, Heliod puts the counter back on, and that's that. As you can see, Walking Ballista is staying at 5 power. So I think, instead of doing this another 20 times, let's just try and win on combat. We'll go for Nykthos. I don't want to make fun of my opponent's time too much because I've already been playing with myself for a long time. So let's just go with Cathar's Crusade. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. It's a faster win. But it's also... unless Modo decides to break. Alright, yeah. Modo catches up eventually. Yeah, it's a faster win. But it also shows off another means of winning. We can go for Cathar's Crusade and tap out for Secure the Wastes and get a bunch of plus counters onto all of our stuff. And as long as we're yielded to all this, it should be pretty fast. In fact, we might be able to gain enough life to ether flux our opponent. Then I could go for Soul Warden first, but the last thing I want is more triggers on the stack. So I'm just going to try and put a bunch of plus counters on our stuff and turn everything sideways. And apologies to Wood, I am trying to win as quickly as I can, but... So, yet again, massive props to my opponent for sitting through all this. Sure, it's no fun for him. So what happens is, Cathar's Crusade puts a plus counter on all of our stuff whenever a single creature enters. And we're going to get 18 creatures from Secure the Wastes. So, that's 18 plus counters on everything. And in fact, we're going to have enough damage on our opponent with the... yeah, this is actually taking way longer than I thought it would. I think it's because of that Dawn of Hope, it's really slowed things down. Yeah, so once we're up to 50 life, I'll just shoot my opponent with the Ether Flux Reservoir. There's way too many triggers to sit through here, I think. Yep, that's a lot of triggers. Alright, I'm just saying to my opponent that I'll concede here because we've just got way too many triggers on the stack, and if I decide to put all these triggers on the stack, they will auto-yield, but it'll take a week and a half to actually put them all on the stack, because Magic Online does have this function where you can do it automatically and put them on in any order, but it never works for me for some reason. Anyway, yet again, for the 100th time I've said it, huge shout out to my opponents. They were all really patient there. More specifically Wood, in that last turn we were just trying to get up to what is it, the Walking Ballista combo I was trying to show you all. I don't even know where that's gone now. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Yeah, I got to show you that. All of these creatures would have had 18 plus counters on them. We could have just turned in sideways. Like I said, during paper games you can just tell your opponent what you're doing, do it instantly, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to keep track of life gain and all that, but in a game of Magic Online you have to jump through every single hoop. So yeah, I don't know if I'll be playing this deck again, although I don't suppose this is typical of what this deck can do. We could only do this thanks to our opponent's Consecrated Sphinx and us having the Arms Collector in play. So yeah, the card draw won't be typical. The ramp might be, but yeah, I think this is a one-time affair. I think this will be a very rare occurrence with this Heliod deck, just in case you want to build it yourself. Don't expect this to happen every time. Massive shout out to my patrons again, be sure to thank them in the comments section because they have been very patient with me through a few games now, and it's thanks to them that I can show you these interesting games, so be sure to thank them in the comments section because they do deserve it. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and a subscribe if you want to help out the channel and push these videos out to more people. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.